Alien girl misread the human's warmth as a bond signal. Her honest apology melted him instead. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's return to our main character. The corridor hummed with a low electrical buzz as Evan Cole tightened his grip on the railing, the metal cool beneath his palms. The storm outside the research station crackled through the walls, making the lights flutter like nervous breaths. He stepped forward just as a pressure door jolted halfway shut, and beyond it Silari froze, her blue-silver skin catching the flicker of emergency lights. She stood perfectly still, the air trembling around her like she was listening to something Evan couldn't hear. "Hey, careful," he called, his voice steady soft. He lunged just enough to pull the heavy panel back before it could seal. His hands brushed her arm. Warm, brief, reflexive. Silari's bioluminescent markings shimmered in a quick, startled bloom, like moonlit ripples on water. Evan saw only fear. He stepped back to give her space. "You all right? The storm's making the autolocks twitchy today." She stared at his hand instead of his face, her pupils widening in a way he couldn't read. In her culture, his warmth wasn't just kindness. It was a signal, one delivered rarely, intentionally, and never without consequence. But to Evan, it was just instinct, just being decent. The station vibrated under another ion wave, making a thin breath escape her. She drew her hands close to her chest, the faint glow pulsing once, like a heartbeat trying to calm itself. "You should not offer warmth so freely," she murmured, voice barely above the hum of the ventilation. Evan tilted his head. "It's cold in this wing. I didn't want the door catching you." Her glow brightened again, confusion mixing with something he couldn't name. She took a hesitant step past him, moving with the grace of someone constantly aware of the air around her. Evan followed the corridor toward the diagnostics bay, tapping a loose panel back into place as he walked. He felt her eyes on him more than once, studying him the way one might study a rare tool or an odd machine, trying to understand its purpose. The storm outside crackled again, a deep rumble sliding through the walls. Evan glanced back to make sure she was still behind him. She was, hands clasped, shoulders slightly raised, as if bracing for another misunderstanding she couldn't yet explain. He offered a small smile meant to reassure. Instead, her glow flickered hard, as if he had said something profound. Evan had no idea what message she thought he was sending, and she had no idea that he wasn't sending anything at all. The diagnostics bay door slid open with a soft hiss, letting in a wash of pale blue light that reflected off the polished floor. Evan Cole stepped through first, checking the flickering panels overhead while Silari lingered at the threshold, her glow dimming to a cautious shimmer. The storm outside pressed on the walls again, a faint static crawling across the air like distant whispering. Evan tapped the control console until the lights steadied. "There we go," he said, more to fill the quiet than anything else. "System is holding for now." Silari moved inside with slow, measured steps, her presence almost weightless. She paused near a rack of diagnostic coils, fingertips hovering just above the metal. The reflection of her bioluminescent markings curved across the chrome surface. Evan watched her study the faint heat signatures left by his hands when he had adjusted the equipment earlier. Her brows rose slightly, as if the warmth itself carried meaning he did not know he had given. "Is something wrong with the coils?" he asked. She looked up quickly. "No, they are unchanged." Her voice drifted, soft and careful. "Your touch remains on them." Evan blinked. "That is just residual heat. Happens with anything human hands warm up." A slow, puzzled glow rippled across her cheeks. "Humans leave warmth behind so easily?" she asked. "Most of the time we do not think about it," Evan replied while opening a cabinet. "Especially in cold wings like this." Silari's gaze followed him, studying the easy way he moved through the room. To her, every gesture looked intentional, as if he were speaking a silent language she was trying to decode. Evan pulled out a handheld scanner and approached her. "Mind if I check your vitals? The storm interference might have stressed your suit's regulator." She hesitated, the faint shimmer of her markings contracting in tight, nervous pulses. "If you touch my wrist," she said quietly, "I may misread you again." Evan froze for a heartbeat. "Then I will not touch your wrist," he said simply, adjusting the scanner to work without contact. "I can run it from 6 inches away. No signals sent, I promise." Her glow softened into something almost relieved. "Thank you, Evan Cole." He lifted the scanner, watching the readings paint themselves in green across the screen. "Your regulator is stable," he said. "Heart rate elevated a bit, but that is normal after a scare in the corridor." She shifted slightly. "It was not the corridor," she murmured. Evan looked up, but she glanced away, her markings flickering like reflections on water. Before he could ask, the floor vibrated under a mild ion tremor. A hanging tool rattled gently against its hook. Evan stepped naturally closer to steady the equipment, his shoulder angled toward her. Silari's breath caught, the glow along her neck brightening in a startled wave. She took one step back, then stopped herself, palms pressed together. "Evan," she said softly, "you continue offering warmth without intention. It is confusing." He lowered the tool and faced her fully. "Silari, I am just trying to help." The glow around her dimmed to a fragile silver. "That is why it is confusing." Evan opened his mouth to respond, but the station lights dipped again, the storm's static brushing the walls like a warning. He stepped toward the console. Without thinking, she followed, drawn not by fear of the storm, but by the steady reassurance of his presence. Neither of them noticed how close they stood until the lights steadied, and the quiet between them felt warmer than the room itself. The storm quieted to a low rumble, a distant heartbeat against the metal ribs of the station. Evan Cole adjusted a calibration dial on the console, the soft beeps echoing in the stillness. Silari stood beside him, her glow faint and uncertain, as if she were trying to dim her own reactions. The air felt warm despite the cold wing, carrying the scent of ionized dust and the subtle trace of her bioluminescent skin. "The readings are stabilizing," Evan said, watching the console lights level out. "We should be in the clear for now." Silari nodded, her hands clasped in front of her. She studied him with an expression that mixed curiosity and restraint, as if she feared another misinterpretation. "Humans endure storms differently," she said softly. "You move through uncertainty without signaling fear." Evan gave a small shrug. "I am used to equipment acting up. Storms just add personality to the day." Her glow pulsed in a quiet ripple, the alien equivalent of a thoughtful breath. She stepped closer to examine the console, her eyes following the shifting data lines. Evan leaned slightly to point out a reading, aware too late that their shoulders were inches apart. Silari froze, the glow along her arms brightening. Evan immediately pulled back. "Sorry, I did not mean to crowd you." She lowered her gaze. "You did not crowd me. It is only that closeness carries meaning. To my people." Her voice thinned to a whisper. "I keep forgetting humans do not speak through warmth." Evan rested his hands on the edge of the console, choosing his words carefully. "Silari, most of the time humans speak through actions. But our actions do not always mean what they mean to your culture." She glanced up at him, her expression fragile, her markings flickering like a wavering reflection on calm water. "Then when you offered warmth in the corridor, what did it mean?" He hesitated, caught between honesty and not overwhelming her. "It meant I wanted you safe. Nothing more complicated than that." Her glow dimmed to a gentle gradient. "Safety, not bonding." "Right," he said gently. "Just caring." She repeated the word as if tasting it. "Caring." Another tremor brushed the station, softer this time. The lights flickered once and steadied again. Silari stepped closer, not out of fear, but with a deliberate caution. "Evan Cole," she said quietly, "I should tell you something. When you shielded me from the door, I believed you had chosen me. I believed it with complete certainty. My people interpret warmth as a declaration." Evan's breath caught in his chest, not because of the content, but because of the sincerity in her voice. "You had no way of knowing otherwise," he said. "None of this is your fault." She exhaled slowly, her glow softening. "I am trying to understand your world, your gestures, your intentions. But everything you do feels significant." She paused, looking at him with luminous eyes. "Is it always like this? Do humans create meaning without realizing it?" Evan smiled faintly. "All the time." Silari considered that, the silence stretching warm between them. Then she placed her hands behind her back in a posture of respectful distance. "Thank you for your patience, Evan Cole." Her glow steadied into a calm, moonlit hue. "I will learn your signals. And I will try not to mistake your warmth again." He nodded, though something in him felt unexpectedly moved. Before he could respond, the comm panel beeped, calling them to the next module. Evan stepped toward the door. Silari followed, her footsteps quiet, her glow soft, as if carrying a new understanding through the dim hallway. The next module was quieter, insulated from the storm's lingering static. Soft ceiling lights washed the narrow space in a steady glow as Evan Cole stepped inside, checking the environmental monitors along the wall. Silari followed a few paces behind, her bioluminescent markings shifting in slow, thoughtful rhythms. The air here felt warmer, calm enough that even the faint hum of the cooling vents sounded gentle. Evan knelt beside an open panel where the temperature regulators needed recalibrating. He slid his toolkit closer and reached for a thermometer. As he focused on the wiring, he noticed Silari pause near the center of the room, her gaze moving over the consoles as if searching for something familiar. "Feels different in here, does it not?" he asked without looking up. Silari folded her hands loosely at her waist. "Yes, the air is still. It does not speak as loudly as the hallways." "That is one way to put it," Evan said with a small smile. "This room is insulated. Fewer surprises." She walked toward him, her steps light, almost soundless. "Humans prefer places with fewer surprises?" Evan tightened a screw before answering. "We like stability. It helps us think straight." Silari tilted her head slightly. "My people think clearly only when the world moves around us. It reminds us we are part of something larger." Evan looked up at her, meeting her luminous eyes. "And here, all you hear is a quiet vent and my tools clinking." "Yes," she murmured. "It is unfamiliar." Her glow rippled in a soft wave, the color deepening for a moment. Evan returned to the wiring, but her presence beside him pulled gently at his attention. When she crouched to see what he was adjusting, her glow reflected faintly off the metal, creating tiny patterns of light. "Are these wires stable?" she asked. "Mostly," Evan replied. "They shift with the temperature, so I am securing them." She watched the motion of his hands with careful interest. "You are deliberate," she said softly. "Every movement has purpose." He let out a small laugh. "If you saw me trying to fix the water purifier last week, you would not say that." Her glow brightened in a soft, amused flicker. She lowered herself to sit on the floor beside him, folding her legs with quiet grace. "I am learning that humans use humor to soften the world." "Sometimes," Evan said, adjusting another wire. "Sometimes we use it when things feel too big." Silari traced a fingertip lightly across the floor, sensing the residual warmth from where he had been sitting earlier. "Your warmth is everywhere," she said quietly, "even when you do not touch anything directly." Evan paused at that. The way she said it carried no accusation, only observation, as if she were mapping out something new and delicate. "Heat transfer," he explained gently. "Anything we sit near or touch absorbs a little of it." She looked at him, her expression softened by understanding. "Then perhaps I should not fear the warmth anymore." Before Evan could respond, a gentle tone chimed from the overhead speakers, signaling that the storm outside had weakened. Silari rose slowly, her glow settling into a serene blue. "Evan Cole," she said, her voice steady but warm. "May I stay near you while you finish the work? This room feels quieter than I expected." He nodded without hesitation. "Of course. Stay as long as you want." She moved closer, not touching him, but close enough that her glow cast a faint halo across his tools. Together they worked in the calm, the quiet settling around them like a fragile understanding waiting to grow. The quiet held steady as Evan Cole secured the last regulator plate, the screws clicking softly into place. The storm outside had faded into a distant murmur, leaving only the steady hum of the module and the faint glow radiating from Silari as she stood nearby. The calm made everything sharper, every sound more defined, every breath more present. Evan wiped a bit of dust from his glove and powered up the main control screen. The module lights shifted to a stable green, signaling full functionality. "That should keep things steady for the rest of the cycle," he said. Silari stepped closer, her eyes reflecting the soft green glow as if absorbing it. "You repaired all of this quickly," she said. Your hands do not hesitate. Experience. Evan replied, though his voice lowered a little when he noticed her studying his hands again, as if trying to understand something deeper about them. Silari clasped her palms gently. Evan Cole, may I ask something without causing misunderstanding? You can ask anything, he said. She shifted her weight thoughtfully, her bioluminescent markings dimming in a slow wave. When you work, your focus becomes warm. It surrounds you even when your body does not. It feels like intention, but you say it is only concentration. How do humans separate the two? Evan considered the question. I guess we do not always separate them. Sometimes focus looks like feeling. Sometimes kindness looks like instinct. Instinct, she repeated quietly. Your instinct is gentle. Before he could respond, the overhead monitor flickered with a soft amber alert. Nothing dangerous, just a pressure variance in an adjoining passage. Evan sighed. Looks like the door seals need checking. He stepped toward the exit, but paused when he felt Silari hesitate behind him. Her glow pulsed once, faint but noticeable. This passage, she said, has narrow walls. Will your repairs require close movement? Evan nodded slowly. Probably. It is a tight fit. Silari lowered her gaze as if bracing herself. Then I must prepare not to misread proximity. Her honesty caught him off guard, softening something in his chest. I will be careful, he said. And if anything feels confusing, you tell me right away. No pressure. No expectations. She looked up at him with gratitude shimmering in her eyes. Your assurances have warmth, Evan Cole. That one is intentional, he admitted. Her glow brightened in a gentle pulse, surprised but pleased. They walked into the adjoining passage together. The narrow walls reflected Silari's glow in soft waves, turning the space into a quiet tunnel of shifting blue light. Evan crouched beside the control plate, the space so tight that Silari stood only a few feet away. She kept her hands folded, focusing on her breathing as if steadying her thoughts. If this space feels uncomfortable, Evan said, I can relocate the tools and work from the other end. No, she said softly. I want to understand. If I step into a human world, I must learn to read it properly. A warm respect rose in him. She was not afraid. She was trying. He adjusted the seal alignment, the tool clicking gently. Sometimes closeness for humans is just practicality, he said. Not a message, not a signal. Silari nodded, the glow around her softening. And sometimes warmth is not a bond, but simply care. Exactly. She exhaled slowly, her tension easing. When Evan tested the panel and the green light blinked on, Silari allowed a calm ripple of light to flow across her skin. You see, he said. No mixed signals. Just teamwork. Yes, she replied, her voice steady and warm. Teamwork. I can understand that. And for the first time since the storm began, her glow carried not confusion, but quiet confidence. The station's central corridor stretched ahead in a soft arc, washed in steady white light now that the storm had eased. Evan Cole walked at an easy pace, toolkit in hand, listening to the muted rumble of power lines settling back into their normal rhythm. Beside him, Silari moved with quiet composure, her bioluminescent markings shifting in calm, slow pulses that reflected a steadier inner state than before. The stillness made their footsteps sound more distinct, a gentle echo following them down the curved hall. Only one more system check, Evan said, tapping the panel on his wrist. Then the station should be fully back online. Silari nodded. The air feels clearer. The disturbance outside is almost gone. Storms pass. Evan replied with a small smile. They always do. Silari looked at him, studying the soft expression he wore. Humans speak of storms as if they are temporary challenges, she said. Do you always believe they will end? He shrugged lightly. Believing it helps us get through them. Her glow rippled in a gentle wave, as though his answer resonated more deeply than he intended. They arrived at the environmental hub, a circular room where a ring of consoles displayed readouts of oxygen flow, pressure balance, and humidity. Evan set his tools down and leaned over the nearest display, scanning the numbers with practiced focus. Silari observed him for a moment before stepping closer, her hands folded behind her back in a gesture of attentiveness. Evan Cole, she said, gently, I have been considering our earlier conversation about signals, intention, and misunderstanding. He glanced over his shoulder. Yeah. Her glow brightened subtly. You said humans act without always knowing what their actions mean. But do you also feel without knowing what your feelings mean? The question landed softly, like dust settling on glass. Evan paused, unsure how honest he should be. Sometimes, he admitted, feelings can sneak up on you. Silari's markings shifted in thoughtful patterns. Then perhaps humans and my people are not so different. I believed humans were careless with their warmth. But now I see you are simply unguarded with it. Evan blinked, surprised by the clarity of her insight. Not careless, she continued. Honest. You offer comfort without calculation. It is unfamiliar, but it is not unwise. He turned fully to face her, leaning lightly against the console. I never meant to confuse you, he said. But I am glad we are figuring this out. Her glow deepened, reflecting gratitude. I am learning to see your world as you do. Slowly, but with intent. Evan nodded toward a small sensor panel near the far wall. Would you help me run the atmospheric test? Yes, she said immediately, stepping toward it. As she placed her hand near the sensor, the panel lit with a soft blue response. Evan watched her movements, deliberate, graceful, confident now that she understood the space she occupied. The sensor chimed a clear tone. Reading is normal, she reported. Pressure stable. Oxygen at optimal levels. Evan smiled. Perfect. She turned toward him, her glow warming at the edges. We make effective partners. We do, he agreed. For a moment, the air between them felt calm and balanced, like the station itself had finally aligned. Silari stepped closer, stopping at a respectful distance. Evan Cole, earlier I misunderstood your warmth. But now I understand this much. You give it freely because it is part of you. And I do not wish to step away from it anymore. Evan felt something shift inside him, quiet but undeniable. Then do not, he said softly. Her glow steadied, luminous and calm. And in the quiet center of the environmental hub, it felt like both of them had crossed an invisible threshold into understanding, neither rushed nor forced, simply earned. The environmental hub settled into a steady rhythm, each console light blinking with calm regularity, as if the entire station had taken a long, relieved breath. Evan Cole powered down the diagnostic screen and slid his toolkit to the side, feeling the hum beneath the floor plates grow softer as the systems fully stabilized. Silari stood near the circular viewport, her glow reflecting faintly on the glass. Beyond it, the storm had thinned into drifting streaks of pale light, the last remnants of ionized particles dissolving into the vast dark. She watched the fading shimmer with quiet focus, her markings shifting in slow, contemplative waves. When Evan stepped beside her, she did not startle or retreat. Instead, her glow adjusted naturally, as if calibrating itself to his presence. It is peaceful now, she said, her voice low and even. Your station feels different when the storm sleeps. Most things do, Evan replied. Storms make you tighten up. Calm reminds you it is all right to breathe again. She turned her gaze to him, studying the ease in his posture. You breathe with intention, not just to live, but to steady the space around you. Evan chuckled softly. I do not know if I am that skilled. I just try to stay centered. Silari stepped a little closer, the movement slow and deliberate. Centered, she repeated. You teach without realizing you are teaching. Evan leaned lightly against the railing beneath the viewport. And you learn fast. Faster than anyone I have met. Her glow warmed. I must learn, if I am to understand your signals and avoid mistakes. A gentle silence settled. The module lights dimmed into energy-saving mode, bathing the room in a soft amber that mixed with the pale blue of her glow, creating a halo of blended color around them. Silari lifted her hands slightly, palms open at her sides. Evan Cole, she said with a steady breath. When the storm began, I misread your warmth. I believed you had chosen me. I believed it deeply. Evan listened, the quiet tone in her voice prompting him to stay still. But now, she continued, I realize I did not misinterpret a bond. I misinterpreted kindness. And that mistake was mine, not yours. She bowed her head slightly in an expression he had seen only from her species during moments of solemn sincerity. I apologize, she said softly. Not for feeling, but for assuming you felt the same signal. Evan's voice gentled. Silari, you do not owe me an apology. You were following the rules of your world. Even so, she murmured, your world deserves respect. You deserve respect. He reached out, stopping short of touching her arm, choosing closeness without contact. I respect your world too, he said. And how you feel is never something you need to apologize for. Silari lifted her gaze, her eyes luminous, reflecting the soft convergence of their shared light. Then may I ask one more question? Of course, he said. She stepped close enough that he could feel a faint warmth radiating from her bioluminescent markings. If warmth is not a bond in your world, she asked quietly, why does your warmth feel intentional now? Evan drew a slow breath, the moment settling around them like the calm after a heavy storm. Because, he said softly, this time it is. Her glow brightened in a stunned, tender ripple, as if a new understanding had taken root, gentle, steady, and blooming in the quiet between them. The soft glow between Evan Cole and Silari lingered in the quiet of the environmental hub, gently shifting like a tide neither of them wished to disturb. The station around them hummed with renewed balance, every console steady, every system calm. It felt as though the entire structure had settled into the same stillness that now held them both suspended. Silari's bioluminescent markings rippled in a slow bloom, not bright, not overwhelming, but warm enough to mirror the intention Evan had just admitted. She looked at him as if seeing something new, something fragile but certain. Intentional warmth, she said softly, as if testing the shape of the words. It feels different. Evan nodded. It should. Signals you cannot control mean one thing. Signals you choose mean another. Her glow deepened in a gentle wave. Then I must understand the intention behind this moment. Evan did not move closer, but he did not step away. He let the stillness speak for him, letting his steady breathing meet hers in the quiet space between them. The lights overhead shifted subtly from amber to soft white as the station transitioned into its nighttime cycle. The change washed the hub in a calm glow that made Silari's markings shimmer like soft reflections across water. She turned slightly toward the viewport, gazing at the faint trails of storm light dissolving against the dark horizon. My people, she began, believe a chosen bond is. Announced with a single gesture. Not touch, not words. Simply the choice to remain beside someone when the world calms again. Evan followed her gaze. What gesture is that? Silari lifted her hands, palms barely apart, then lowered them with a quiet exhale. Staying, she said, after the storm has passed. Evan absorbed that, the meaning settling into him with surprising clarity. So this, he said, glancing around the dimmed hub. Us staying here together, that is the gesture? She nodded. Yes. The instinct to flee ends. The instinct to remain begins. Evan let his breath steady. And do you want to remain? Silari turned toward him fully. Her glow softened, becoming a calm, even hue. I do. But I wish to remain in truth, not in confusion. Then no confusion, Evan said quietly. I am choosing to stay too. Her markings brightened in a slow ripple, as if emotion traveled through light rather than skin. Then your warmth, she murmured, is not a mistaken bond. It is a chosen closeness. Evan smiled. Exactly. A small, almost imperceptible shiver moved through Silari, not from fear, but from understanding settling into place. Evan Cole, she said, I have something I must admit. When I apologized earlier, I feared I had broken something delicate between us. You did not, he assured her. You clarified it. She seemed to absorb that, her glow smoothing into a quiet, steady pulse. Then there is one more truth, she said. I believed your warmth meant something you had not chosen. But now, knowing it is chosen, it feels different. It feels, she hesitated. Safe. Evan felt the word resonate through him. He did not touch her. He simply stood with her, letting the shared quiet affirm what words did not need to finish. The storm outside was gone. The station was still, and the warmth between them no longer belonged to misunderstanding, but to the fragile, intentional beginning of something real. The nighttime cycle settled fully over the station, dimming the corridors into a soft twilight glow. The hum of the systems had leveled into a steady pulse, gentle and even, as if the entire structure had finally exhaled after the long storm. Evan Cole powered down the last console in the environmental hub, the screen fading into darkness. Only the soft ambient lights remained, casting long shapes across the curved floor. Silari stood beside the viewport again, but this time she was not watching the remnants of the storm. She was watching the calm. Her bioluminescent markings glowed in a slow, even rhythm that matched the quiet around her. When she turned toward Evan, the light along her skin shifted in a warm bloom, steady and controlled. "Your world feels different now," she said quietly. "Not because the storm has ended, but because I understand more of what I see." Evan stepped closer, stopping at a respectful distance. "What do you see?" She considered the question, her gaze softening. "A human who offers warmth without expecting anything. A human who stays when he could walk away. A human who chooses closeness only when it is honest." Evan felt a small, grounding breath leave him. "And what do you feel about that?" Silari approached him slowly, the glow around her brightening in a quiet ripple. "I feel clarity," she said. "And something else I struggled to name earlier." Evan waited, letting the silence be a gentle space for her words. "I thought your warmth was a bond signal," she continued, "because I had only known warmth as obligation in my culture. But now I understand the difference. Intentional warmth is not a claim. It is an offering." Her glow deepened, a soft blue edged with silver. "And I accept it, Evan Cole." Evan's chest tightened with an emotion he had not expected, something quiet but powerful. "Then I am glad," he said softly. She stood directly across from him now, close enough that her glow painted faint highlights along his shoulders and the railing beside them. But she did not touch him. She honored the space between them, letting intention do the speaking. "Among my people," she said, "a chosen bond is not announced with touch. It is announced with presence, with the choice to stay beside someone when the world returns to calm." Evan looked at her, absorbing the meaning in her words. "Then what happens now?" She breathed gently, her markings shifting in a serene wave. "Now," she said, "we remain." Evan moved to stand next to her at the viewport, his presence deliberate, unhurried. They watched the quiet stars spread across the sky where the storm had been. No words filled the space. None were needed. Silari exhaled softly, her glow settling into the calmest pattern he had seen yet. "Your warmth no longer confuses me," she whispered. "It steadies me." Evan let the stillness wrap around them, a quiet affirmation of the understanding they had reached. In the reflection of the glass, her glow mingled faintly with his silhouette, two forms outlined by the soft hush of restored peace. It was not a bond forced by misunderstanding. It was not a signal mistaken by circumstance. It was simply two beings choosing, in the calm after the storm, to stand beside each other. And in that quiet, her eyes softened, reflecting the stars. For the first time, she understood his warmth. And for the first time, he understood how deeply it mattered.